Paul, what's better than people?
Food.
Well, sure, but I was thinking animals. Let's talk about them today. I'm Devin.
And I'm Paul.
And we are the Dads and Dice. And today we are going to be talking about animals, our top 5 animal themed games. I'm going to start off the list with my number 5, Cascadia.
Nice.
I think Cascadia is such a fun, kind of everything game. It's light, but there is strategy where it's a bit heavier. You can play it with a group of gamers and everybody can really grind. You can play with your family and people like it because of the theme, right? It's easy for them to just kind of make the connections of trouts. In Cascadia, you are drafting out animal little tokens as well as landscape tiles, and then you're kind of just trying to form large landscapes, and then you'll have different goal cards that will be trying to actually score the animals in various different ways, like those trouts running in a line. Bears maybe want to be together, maybe they want to be separate, right? The foxes may want to have somebody different around them. Eagles have all kinds of different weird scorings. And that is what makes it so great, is because every time you play it, it's truly always different because of all of that, what comes out, and just a game I completely love, and animals definitely don't hurt it at all.
Yeah, and that one, it definitely, it's really good because not only does it have all that, different scoring, that's what makes the game more replayable, right? So you can have your set 5 that you say, like you said, I'm going to play this with my family, and these are the 5 scoring ones that I'm going to do with my family, because they're really not that hard and they're not that strategic to figure them out. But then when you and I get together, it's like, okay, now let's do these ones that are a little bit harder. So you can scale that game very well for who you're playing with it, and that's what I really enjoy about it. But more on that later. Maybe a little spoiler there. So for my number 5 game, this is going to be New York Zoo. So with that one, I was a little bit torn on this one because I really just started playing it a lot recently, and it really reminded me of how much I absolutely love this game. This is a Uwe Rosenberg game, polyomino tile placement, where you are trying to run a zoo. And basically on your turn, you can either collect animals or you can collect enclosures. So you're moving around this rondel that has all these different shapes. Anytime you collect an enclosure, you'll put it on your map, and then you have to fill it with some type of animal, whether that's a kangaroo, a penguin, a fox, a meerkat, and then I think that might be it. But anyway, you put them on there, and then throughout that rondel, every now and then you'll have breeding sections. So anytime that you breed, if you have 2 of the same animal in the enclosure, they will breed and produce a new one. If you ever fill out that enclosure, you will then be able to get like special attractions on there, like some type of, food court or something else, just to fill up more space on the board. So this game in essence is really a race to be the first one to fill up your board. That's the end of the game. So, it's just a really good spatial puzzle, but also trying to figure out when you're going to get your animals and when you're going to get those enclosures and what animals are you going to breed at what times. And it's just a really, really good logic puzzle, trying to figure out what can go where and looking turns ahead. It's like, oh, I think if I get that, this will go here. And if I can breed this animal, I can put one of those special attractions here. So it's just a really well done game. Has that Uwe feel, but slightly different than a lot of his other games. And yeah, that's New York Zoo. That's my number 5.
Okay, so let's get over to our number 4s. All right, so for my number 4, going to carry on that Uwe Rosenberg theme there, going with Agricola, right? Another great one. First and foremost, I'm pretty sure every Uwe game could probably make this list, right? Because he just loves his animal breeding. New York Zoo is truly all about animals. But Agricola, it is the majority of it, right? If you're not collecting animals, you're not playing the game, and you're definitely not going to win the game, right? So Agricola, I don't even think I need to do a description of it. Everybody knows, but it's the good old farming simulator where you are trying to feed your people round around and stave off starvation.
Get more people.
Yeah, you're going to be growing vegetables, but then the whole time you're going to be fencing out sections of your little, I think it's a 4x4 grid, your grid, and trying to make different pens and then put different animals. I believe there is cows, horses, sheep, and maybe that's it.
Sounds
Am I
right.
forgetting one?
Cows, horses, pigs. Did you say pigs? Are
Maybe
pigs in it?
I don't
remember.
You know, I've recently been reading the rule book of Caverna, and it has more animals, so I'm trying to make sure I don't get it all mixed up. But anyway, again, Huey Rosenberg, they always have animals in there, and they're always breeding, so you can breed them right, and if you got room in your pens, you can add them between rounds, or I think it's whenever you harvest, and Agricola, I think, is just a fantastic game. Truly, although it is very much animal theme, that is not what makes me love the game. I love the game because of all of the occupations and the variability that there is in that. You can draft and it gets really crunchy if you do that, or you can just kind of randomize it and work with what you got. I've played it all sorts of ways and I just love it every time, but those occupations are what just really drive it home for me.
Yeah, Agricola is a really, really fun game. And like you said, you know, all of Yui's, you can see little bits of every game in all of his games. And this one, I feel like, is one of his, we'll call it one of his masterpieces, right? You can see a lot of this game in his other games. So this one, obviously, it's in the, what is it, top 50 of BGG. Sure. So it's you know, it's got its place as one of those really good games. And yeah, every time I've played it, I've had a blast doing that one. So going on to my number 4, that is Boop. Boop the cat game.
Boop.
Right? Boop.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had said before this, you don't know my list.
I
will tell you, Boop is one of my favorite 2-player games.
Okay.
I absolutely love this game. My wife plays it with me all the time. Honestly, that's probably why I love this game so much, because it's one that can be played in a short amount of time, but there is so much strategy in this game. So if you don't know anything about Boop, you are basically one person is going to be the orange cats, and then the other person is going to be the gray cats. And you start off as kittens, and what you're going to try to do is get 3 kittens in a row. Once you have 3 kittens in a row, they graduate into cats, and then to win the game, you try to get the 3 cats in the row. The trick comes to whenever you place your kitten next to other kittens, they will boop away. So they'll move away adjacently 1 space. So trying to get 3 in a row is pretty difficult. It's not as easy as it seems. You can boop them off of the bed and then they go back into the other player's hand or whatever, right there to the side where you can use them again. Like I said, this game, for the cute cat theme that it has, is very, very strategic.
Yeah, I'm honestly taken aback still that it's even on your list, mostly because you're not a huge abstract gamer, so it's just kind of surprising me that Boop made your list. But that was our number 4s. Let's get over to the number 3s. Okay, so for my number 3, it's got to be Wingspan, right?
Yep.
Easily probably knew it was going to be on my list. Wingspan is probably one of the most well-known animal games,
probably
right?
what made it come to the forefront.
Very much so. And, you know, in Wingspan, you have 3 different, we'll call it zones or climates, and you are building out a row of animals, and it's really just an engine builder, right? Excuse me, not a row of animals, specifically a row of birds. But you're going to be playing birds and then running kind of this engine backwards of the different birds you did, and you know, it could be tucking cards, it could be gaining eggs, it could be just playing the value of the animals or the birds, but there's just so many different ways to score in it. I absolutely love it. I think it is the perfect little quick engine builder that doesn't take too long. I will say 2 downsides with it. One, it can very much have a runaway leader. Somebody can just take off with it. And because there is so many cards, you can also be the one that just doesn't get anything started and the other person does, and you're just watching that, right? But it is animal themed. Even though I've always said this could be a themeless game, I think it's just a very good game. That's my number 3.
Yeah, Wingspan for me is one that, like you said, the runaway leader problem. Every time that I've played it, that's what I have felt. There's the games with tons of cards that you have to kind of rely on the luck of the draft. Or the luck of the draw on them, those kind of leave a little sour taste in my mouth. Wingspan for me is one that hasn't ever really hit just from my play style, but I definitely understand why people like that game. So going on to my number 3, it's going to be another surprise for Devin. This one is Camel Up.
Camel Up, whoa.
Yeah. Camel Up is a racing game, right, that involves camels, and you are betting on the outcome of these camels, right? Every time that I have played this game, and it's been a while since I've played it, but every time that I've played this game, it has been a blast. We're all just like, yes, bet it all on green, right? Green is in the lead, they're all the way at the back now somehow, right? And so just every time I've played it, I've just had these memories that come up of oh yeah, you remember when this was going on, and then it completely changed. Anyway, going into Camel Up, you have this little pyramid, which again just adds to the awesomeness of the game, and that's where the dice are. And you press it down, or you shake it, and then it releases a dice, and that tells you which camel color to move up. And then the camels can jump on top of each other, and then that one's in the lead, or it can go backwards if there's some type of trap on the map. So just the amount of chaos that can ensue, just the amount of laughs that I've had while playing Camel Up. We talk about it quite a bit. We like racing games, and honestly, I think that's one of the best racing games out there.
Yeah, Camel Up, every time you play it, it's just a wacky, fun time. I've played that with hardcore gamers. I've played it with my family. I've played it with all sorts of people, and everybody's always just laughing. So that is a solid choice, one that I didn't even think about and was not on my radar, but I think a great number 3. Let's get over to our number 2s. Okay, so for my number 2, if you said you didn't like the luck of the draw and that big deck, you're going to hate Ark Nova.
Yep, I knew it was coming.
So Ark Nova, I think, is just a completely fantastic card-driven game. You are building out a zoo, and you're basically getting all sorts of different animals to play in different sizes of enclosures. You can also be getting kind of sponsorships or conservation projects, and really it has the Rajas of the Ganges style scoring, where it's really deceptively a race. It's the first kind of to cross, and hopefully kind of cross pretty big. But I think it's just a completely fantastic game. It's another one, massive deck cards. You can get things that are going, or you just kind of work with what is there, because the nice part of this one is everybody is always dealing with that same set of cards. So it's not really ever I'm not getting the right things, because everybody's seeing kind of the exact same ones. But I think Ark Nova is fantastic. It right away got compared to Terraforming Mars. I think that is such a true comparison. I love both those games and would hate to have to choose between the two, but Ark Nova is my number 2.
Yeah, I can tell you very quickly, mine is Terraforming Mars between that choice. Honestly, it's just one that the games are so similar, at least in my mind. I've played Terraforming Mars so many times that I know the cards that are coming out. I know what kind of cards work well together. So honestly, for me, it's more of a comfort thing, right? That's my go-to game, and that I understand the appeal to Ark Nova. I understand why people really enjoyed it. I think the crossing of the points is awesome. I really enjoy that in Rajas of the Ganges. So definitely a good pick for your number 2.
Okay, what about you?
For my number 2 game, we have Cascadia. And this one was one that Devin has already mentioned. Basically, all those reasons that you said. It's just such an accessible game. It won Spiel des Jahres whenever it came out, right? So everybody kind of acknowledged it as this not only family-friendly game, but this nice strategic game. You know, the one thing that I mentioned was the variability in the scoring. I really enjoy that. And it also has a terrific solo mode where you have different achievements that you can unlock. So, you know, on this first one, you might want to get this certain amount of points, and you might want to get this certain amount of points with this specific card, right? So it changes up just the beat your own high score with actually trying to achieve these different things. And I think that just everything about that is an awesome game.
Okay, so we made it to our number ones, but before we get there, we do have one honorable mention we have to mention, and that is Animal Upon Animal, a cute little haba game made for
Dexterity
kids.
game, yes.
And that you are just stacking little wooden animal pieces on top of each other. But it is a complete fun and fantastic time. If it was not for the fact that it is specifically made for 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, you know, it probably would have made my list. But I always have fun playing this with, you know, my nephew or any little ones that I have. They really enjoy it, and it's a great one to teach kids kind of about turns, right?
Yep.
About rolling a dice and, you know, having to do what that outcome is, and they can enjoy stacking little animals.
And
right?
honestly, you know, we can throw pretty much a lot of Habba's games into this, right? Right behind us, we have Here Fishy Fishy, another animal game, right? Where you are putting the colors together, right? So you rolled this color, this is the fish that you have to get. You know, of course, in true dad's fashion, right? We're wanting to get our kids to play games with us. And these games specifically, they're, first of all, the production quality is so amazing of them, just that solid wooden piece that, you know, you can give them to 2 and 3-year-olds and they're gonna be fine. But yeah, just that whole thing of teaching them the turns, of rolling the dice, of matching the colors, of matching the symbols. It's just an awesome intro into what gaming is. And we're gonna keep showing them to those. And if you have little ones, show them those games.
That's right. So enough about the kids' games. Let's get back to our list with our number ones. My number one, hopefully is not recency biased on my part, but it is easily Great Western Trail, right?
Okay.
We just recently played it, and I almost think if we hadn't, Ark Nova may have been up there.
I was going to think Ark Nova was your one.
I just thought, man, Great Western Trail is a fantastic game. I remember loving it. I hadn't played it in
probably about a
3
year,
years, 2 years, something like that. I loved it then. I loved it now. It is an animal game. It's about
it is.
driving these cattle from Texas up to Kansas City and shipping them off out into the West. And you are basically trying to leave Texas, get to Kansas City with the most valuable hand of cattle you can without any kind of repeats. But there's all these kind of stops and temptations along the way that, and I won't say temptations, just other ways of scoring points along the way that both help you manipulate your hand, but also could be using your hand in ways. And I think the game is just completely fantastic. There is so many different ways that you could really decide how you want to score. It's not as simple as I'm just going to go to Kansas City with the biggest hand, because you could play a game where you're not trying to, you know, ship things off to the biggest cities and instead get points other ways. And I just love it. I think Great Western Trail is fantastic. I have not played any of the many variants that they got at this point. But I really want to try them because I know that it still has that heart and soul of Great Western Trail. So I'm excited to try them eventually.
Yeah, Great Western Trail, like you had mentioned, we just finished playing this one not too long ago. And yeah, it's one that, like you said, it's really cool because you can choose your scoring, right? You can decide to go the building route and just have tons of buildings out there in the correct places that kind of hinder your movement, and even more so in a 3 or 4 player game. Or you can really work on those engineers and really just be able to ship your stuff off as far as possible and get all those stations along the way. You can just bloat your deck with a whole bunch of different cattle that are all completely different, and then just get your points that way. So it's not a point salad type of game, but there's so many different ways to get those points. And as long as you're, focusing on one of those ways, the games are going to be fairly close. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's a really good one. For my number one game, and I know for a fact this one is not recency bias because I haven't played it in a while, but that is Meadow. Meadow to me is it's a terrific game. It's a tableau builder where you have this central board, and on the central board there's a whole bunch of different animals, insects, there's some soil and some houses and stuff like that also, but for the main part it's just a bunch of different animals. And in order to play those cards, you have to have the things underneath it, right? So for example, let's say you're trying to draft some type of bird. In order to play that, you're going to need some type of insect, and then you're going to need maybe some type of trees on there to stack them on top. Whenever you're doing that, you're gaining points. And this is my style of game, right? You're just going to be getting points for this card, playing it here, getting points for this card. You always call it dip and dunk, right? You're just grabbing stuff from here, grabbing stuff from there, and playing it out. What I really enjoy about this game is it tells a story in its own way, right? So you're starting off with just this barren land, and then all these animals are coming in and you're building up on it. And then you might have a couple houses over here that some mice might be sneaking in, right? So in order to play that mouse, you need the house by there. But it's just a game that is really enjoyable. It gives you that kind of cozy feel, but it is strategic enough that you have to really plan out what you're going to be going for in the end.
Yeah, I think Meadow is a fantastic game. It actually was like the bubble game for me. Probably I would call it the number 6, right? I really fought, is it 5, is it 6, where is it going? But it just quite didn't get there. But I completely love it. Just like you said, it's one where everything scores points, and every single time I've played it, the scores have been so very tight. The better player is almost always going to win, but it's not going to feel bad because everybody's going to be within a few points, right? It's just the person that made the better decisions, the whatever, ended up just a couple points ahead. Everyone else was still in line. It was never a blowout.
But even with saying that, right, it does depend on what cards are available at the time. So maybe what you took at that time was the best move you could have done, but the next card that comes out is now even better for the next player, right? So while yes, the best player is probably going to win, the better player is probably going to win, there's always that slight chance that the other person might overtake it. And I didn't even mention my favorite part of the game is the selection method, right? You have your little tokens that you can place either on the left, right, or on the bottom, and they've got different numbers, and that's the card that you're taking. So if you have the number 1 and you put it on the right side of the board, you're taking that first card. And then there's the little question mark that lets it be any number that you want. So there's this little blocking action that might happen as well. And then, of course, the downstream expansion just adds more of the same, which is exactly what you want in a game that you already love.
Yeah, so that was our list of our top 5 animal-themed games. In the comments below, tell us if you liked our list, or maybe you like a different animal-themed game that we didn't even think about, because that could easily, clearly happen. But drop something down below. Please like, comment, subscribe. All those things help us, help our channel grow. We'll see you on the next one. Paul, what's better than people?
Animals?
For whatever reason, I in my head thought you would say food. I just had that in my head, and now I realize that was a foolish thought. And that you were never going to say food.
No, I would never say food.
Ever. But in my head, it was going to be food.
I think animals is like the appropriate answer.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I definitely see that you were going to go that route every time that was ever said. So, you're going to say food. And then I'll go from there.
Okay. That would have never.
I know. I realize that now. I'm well aware of that now.
Oh, man.
100%
Okay.
certain.